All right, here we go. By the title, it should probably clue you in to the fact that this is a video that's going to talk about how things have been kind of hard this year. And no, maybe not all year, but if it's been a year that just feels like you've had challenges a challenge comes and then you get past it and you're like, okay, good. Whew, glad that's over with. And then you get hit by something else. And you're literally like, what is going on? What is going on, man? And if that's the case, which it has been for me, and I know I'm not alone, that's the point of this video. It's there's some kind of strength or at the very minimum comfort that you get knowing that you're not the only one. And I haven't posted in a while because I've been so trapped by this, like, perfectionism and this well, I thought it was that. I thought that's all it was. And, let me back up because there's a part of what happened in my day that made me say, "Yeah, shit's hard for a lot of people." And what happened was this morning I went out to go walk my dogs. And I live in the city of Chicago. And when I say I live in Chicago, I live in the city. Okay. Not these suburban people who say they live in Chicago and they live in the suburbs. Not the same thing. Um, and I live in a good part of the city, obviously. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but I wouldn't live in a bad part of the city. But as is the nature of crime, would-be criminals like to wander into the nicer parts of the city because that's where they're gonna find victims with money. And so, luckily, thank God, it wasn't me who was getting, attacked, but this one woman literally on the corner of my block. I didn't even make it off my block before I looked at the corner and I saw this woman talking to this one guy that they were, like, looking like they're having a conversation, but then all of a sudden I saw him, like, grab her, like, reach around and grab her, and I thought he was, um, like, physically assaulting her, and so I, immediately was like, started, like, moving towards these people, and then, um I recognized the woman, but I didn't recognize the guy. Like, the woman is somebody who lives in the neighborhood and walks back and forth, and she was just walking to work. And so this guy, after he grabbed her, he like, kind of started to take off, like, walk away, 'cause then she started to say things like, "No, blah," um, which I always recommend. Like, this is my public safety announcement. Anytime somebody is coming at you and invades your personal space, your voice is the first and most powerful weapon you can use because it attracts attention. It shows the perpetrator that you're not gonna be a quiet, easy target. They don't want people who make noise, okay? So, so as soon as she started to make noise, 'cause that's when she sensed something was wrong because, uh, at first, he just asked her, "Do you have a phone?" Like, there are certain things you gotta know are, like, red flags, like, "Eh, boy," you know? Obviously, "Do you have any money? Do you have a phone?" Blah, 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 you gotta and she said, "No." And that's when he reached around and tried to grab through her pockets is basically what she realized. He was trying to go in her pocket and find this phone. And like I said, as soon as she said no, he started to take off. And she's then she gets her phone out and says, "I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police." And I guess this guy literally turned around and was like, "No, don't call the police." And so I'm already like maybe 20 feet away from her by this point, and I said, "I saw him." And she looks and she sees me, and I said, "I saw him." And so then she says to him, "She saw you." And so that's when I get to the corner and I see this guy like, because like, he basically like, if you're coming from my point of view, he made a left and right, exit stage left, and he started running west. And so as soon as I told the woman that I saw her, like, I would like, I basically gave her that, "I am your witness. If you need help, I'm here." And so she started calling the police, and I just saw like, looked down the sidewalk. He's taken off at this point. Um, so he started running, and then the police came and, like, got the whole police report and stuff, and apparently this guy if it wasn't this guy, they kinda run in a little circle, call it a gang, if you will. They run in like a gang of 3, and they'll kinda spread out, and you'll see them in the neighborhood every now and then. You'll see them, kinda like casing, like, cars and stuff. Um, but so anyway, apparently when the police came, they're like, "Yeah, there have been a few reports around the block." So I know he was just going around our block, trying to mug whoever he could, probably always something with the phone, right? People are constantly on their phones. People are constantly not paying attention. Like, I'll be walking my dogs, and you'll just see people literally walking down the sidewalk, probably like how they're driving, like, not even looking at the road, right? Like, and these people aren't looking at who's in front of them. I've had people almost run into me and my dogs multiple times. So, public safety announcement, public service announcement, both apply. Situational awareness is always gonna be the number one thing that protects you. Situational awareness means you know exactly who is around you. You don't let anybody come and invade your personal space without a good reason. And um, your eyes are open, your ears are open, and you can have situational awareness without being hyper vigilant. You can, like, you can just be like relaxed and aware. And oh, here's something. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I have the phone on and I'm talking to somebody, so I can let them know if something happens to me," or and whoever that is, the any kind of would-be attackers, um, they're not gonna bother me because I have somebody on the phone with me. And I have to fucking laugh at that. Like, that is the dumbest ass shit. Oh, hold on, sorry, the camera. That is the dumbest ass shit you could ever think. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be offensive, but when you are on the phone in any capacity, you're distracted. That is what a predator wants to see, a distracted, easy target. So, you know, I mean, this woman wasn't on the phone. She's like, "I usually have my phone out, but I didn't. It was in my pocket, luckily." But the guy still came up to her. So in this situation, that whole like personal space, right? This is when you don't let people in your personal space. Um, that whole like I know it's the city. I know I'm guilty of it too. I'm walking and I have one headphone in, listening to whatever I'm listening to, and I know that one headphone, it kinda handicaps me because, like, just that one, not having that one ear, I've had people, like, zip right past me on one of those scooters, and I'm like, "Holy shit." If I woulda had the other ear available, I woulda heard them coming, and it's like, I it's a tough one for me to let go. I do have to admit, but visually, I'm always aware, but not from whatever's coming from behind. So, just something to think about, and I probably will modify my behavior after this today. Um, but anyway, back to the story. Things this year have been pretty hard, and for me personally, both professionally and relationships wise, I'm kind of on neutral with that. But one thing I noticed, which kind of goes back to that whole situational awareness. Part of why I haven't been making videos is I have felt like so blocked, whether or not you could attribute that to being a perfectionist, or I just felt personally, I just felt like emotionally stifled. And so a couple things happened where, the last week and a half, I was like, my intuition is just telling me that something is up. And there was a specific context around this that kind of triggered the whole situation. But what I do know is I trust my intuition. And so I kind of shared some concerns with a couple friends who would understand the context. And I said specifically, I said, there is a fine line between paranoia and trusting your intuition. There's a very fine line. And then I followed that up with, but I know myself enough that I will never gaslight my intuition. And so, in situations, especially where I just felt like something was off, I finally reached out to somebody very specific. I'm not going to name names, but I reached out to somebody very specific who completely validated all of my suspicions and even opened up my eyes to some other things that I was like, "Holy shit, that totally makes sense." And this is a part of your personal safety that you cannot really see, but I have some spiritual practices that help. Um, I mean, you guys could call it more simply the power of prayer. And I have other practices that I enforce as an energetic boundary, an energetic protocol that helps shield me from certain things, especially when it comes to, let's speak spiritually, psychic attacks, right? Psychic attacks can happen from people just thinking bad things about you, wishing bad things for you. And I knew after I did this one event, I'm going to do this. I'm going to repurpose some videos from this event I did a couple weeks ago, and so that I could put them on my channel. But during that event, I just felt a certain amount of, like, towards the end, there was definitely like a psychic attack feeling. And I was like, hmm, is it, could it be? Mm, maybe not, right? Like, and it wasn't like a full on, like, I knew, but later on, especially after I spoke with this person, like, very clairvoyant, and she was clairvoyant and clearing my energy field. We were dissolving the cords and clearing the energetic connections, and she was like, "Wow, yeah, definitely psychic attack going on here." And sometimes it takes another person to actually point this out to us, because she had just gotten she was just a recipient of some psychic attacks herself, and that's why you can recognize things is when you're familiar with it, like, "Oh, yeah, you know what that was?" And sometimes you need people. That's, like, the whole aspect of coaching, like, when you're in the glass, you can't see outside of the glass. You need somebody to show you the blind spots, and so thankfully, that's what she did for me, and I was like, "Thank God." I knew. It took a while for that opinion of mine to form, like, that intuition solidified and solidified, and then finally I got an intuitive hit, "You need to contact so and so." And I said, "Yes." Fired off an email right away, we hopped on Zoom the next day, and I found out things that I never would have suspected. Although I had a well, let me scratch that. The intensity of things is what I would never have suspected. I had an inkling, but I'm like, "No, no way." Oh, yes way. So, always listen to your intuition, okay? And I think the tying back to this woman, um, and the person who almost got mugged, it's that, like, your intuition will never fail you, okay? You might not listen to your intuition, but if your intuition is firing and you're not aware of it or don't trust it, that can end up badly for you. So, always listen to yourself. Always listen to that inner voice, even if other people are gaslighting you. Typically, the oppressor or their little minions do gaslight you. That's how a cult operates, right? So, that's a red flag too, people gaslighting your intuition. Don't ever let people do that. Um, there was something that just popped in about the gaslighting. Mm, gosh, I hope I remember. I'll remember. Oh, here it is. Okay, this part might be the most important part of this video. And it does have to do with intuition, but I think it's more of a primal instinct. And back when I had the CrossFit gym, I did multiple certifications. I was like your certification junkie. And one of the certifications I did was a CrossFit striking certification where it was like this MMA guy doing like self-defense and um, just showing basic maneuvers that you could turn into a workout kind of thing, right? Because it was CrossFit. And then I did CrossFit Defense, which was Tony Blauer. He does his own he's like a military trainer, like full on. He his was really much more like tactical self-defense, and he definitely talks about detecting possible threats with your situational awareness and your intuition, using your whole body, right, to inform you. And, detecting, diffusing, and disarming, right? I hope that's right. But a lot of what he taught me, I've used multiple times to save my ass. And I'm not I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I luckily had those things come into my mind, like, at the like perfect time. So one of the things he taught, okay, and this is the thing, I want everyone to listen closely. He interviewed victims of violent crime, especially women. And the one thing they had in common before the perpetrator struck, they had the hairs on the back of their neck stand up. Like, I got full on chills just thinking about this. As soon as there is some part of you, a primal instinct of survival, that the hairs, like, go up on the back of our neck when we're in danger. Your brain senses something, your subconscious gets it right away, and then boom, it's like an autonomic response. I forgive me if that's not like the proper biological term, but every victim of a violent crime knew preceding that moment where their fate was, like, locked, they had their chills come. They had their instinct tell them something was definitely wrong. But unfortunately, here was the other part that was something they all had in common. These victims of violent crime. The other part they had in common, they didn't listen to that instinct. They talked themselves out of it. "Oh, no, no. No, no. Eh, I'm sure he's just a nice guy walking on the beach just like me." Um, I don't wanna I could tell you another story, but I'll keep it at that. But a couple times, um, I had to use Tony Blauer's defense tactics to save my ass, literally. And, the situational awareness was the first key component, and, um, you have to listen to that. You have to listen to yourself. Do not gaslight yourself out of not believing in what your entire body is telling you. That is the most important thing I have to say, and, you know, like, the world is getting like, it's in a very desperate place right now, right? And sure, not everybody, some people are lucky, but, there are a lot of desperate people out there. There are a lot more criminals in this country than used to be. Um, so you just have to stay aware. And, it's this sense of desperation that you really can feel out there. And even if you choose to ignore it and say, well, my world is fine, I'm doing okay. And I hope you are. Okay. I don't wish this stuff on anybody. And, back to that psychic attack real quick. um, when you sense and discover that you've been psychically attacked, don't ever send it back to them. Karma will take care of that on its own. So I'm not worried about that. Um, but yeah, just be careful what type of karma you're putting out there. Um, I've had, have had that bite me in the ass a couple times, which partly is what made this year hard. So, let's not let that come back in. But right, karmic lesson activated. But back to yeah, the people are out there acting crazy. Like, that is part of the reality. So that is the message. It is hard. It is hard for everybody right now. And sure, everybody has like a maybe a little bit less hard, but eventually life is life. Life will happen. And in terms of your own personal physical safety, listen to your intuition, listen to your instinct. You will thank me. All right. And how do I stop this? Oh, down there. Okay, that's the other thing. I am doing this live stream because I can't get myself to edit a video to save my life. It's been hard. Like the editing is such a time suck. So that's why live videos are just sometimes better for me. And it's been too long since I posted one. And today's message I felt was relevant, especially to the women who follow this channel. So, hope you're doing well. Always stay aware of your surroundings. You don't have to be hyper vigilant. Just always listen to your intuition. If you have some red flags being set off, listen, listen, and get distance between whatever could be a potential danger for you. Always listen to yourself. Okay. So hope you're doing well. And let's finish this year strong and happy, please. If not, hey, we got to sow this as a seed. This is the year of not so much fun, but that's life, ups and downs. But the good thing is after the cycle plays out, we'll be on the upswing, people. So, all right, have a good one.